The automotive industry is a key sector in the U.S. economy, contributing millions of jobs and significant GDP. However, it is also one of the most affected by global trade policies, particularly tariffs. Tariffs, which are taxes placed on imported goods, can have profound impacts on manufacturing, pricing, and competitiveness. As the U.S. government has pursued trade tariffs, especially on vehicles and automotive parts, the U.S. auto industry has faced significant challenges. This video examines the top 10 impacts of tariffs on the U.S. auto industry. 1. Increased manufacturing costs. One of the most immediate impacts of tariffs on the auto industry is the increase in manufacturing costs. Automakers often rely on parts and components sourced from other countries, especially for specialized materials such as steel, aluminum, and advanced electronic systems. When tariffs are imposed on these imported components, manufacturers must pay more for these goods, increasing the overall cost of vehicle production. This could lead to higher operational expenses for companies, which may be passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. 2. Higher vehicle prices for consumers. In the wake of tariff impositions, one of the most direct effects felt by consumers is the increase in vehicle prices. As manufacturers experience higher production costs due to tariffs on foreign-made components, they are likely to raise the prices of cars and trucks to maintain profit margins. This price hike could make vehicles less affordable for average consumers, particularly for those in lower income brackets. Higher vehicle prices could lead to reduced demand, negatively impacting overall sales in the auto sector. 3. Strained supply chains. The automotive industry relies heavily on global supply chains to source parts and materials. Tariffs disrupt these supply chains by making certain parts more expensive or harder to obtain. For example, steel tariffs can affect companies that manufacture steel-based parts, such as body panels and frames, creating delays and inefficiencies in production. Supply chain disruptions could also result in lower vehicle production, ultimately reducing the number of cars available on the market and affecting revenue for automakers. 4. Impact on vehicle exports. The imposition of tariffs can have a twofold effect on vehicle exports. While the U.S. auto industry may face higher production costs for vehicles built for domestic consumption, exports can also be affected by retaliatory tariffs from other countries. Many foreign markets impose tariffs on U.S.-made vehicles, which could make U.S. exports less competitive. As a result, automakers might experience lower sales abroad, further exacerbating the financial strain caused by increased domestic production costs. 5. Shifts in production location. To avoid the rising costs of tariffs, some automakers may consider shifting parts of their production to countries with lower trade barriers. This could mean relocating manufacturing operations or building new plants in countries with fewer tariffs, such as Mexico or Canada. While this move may reduce costs for certain automakers, it could lead to a loss of American jobs in the auto sector, as production moves to more cost-efficient locations outside the U.S. 6. Job losses and layoffs. In the short term, the automotive industry might face job losses due to the increased costs of production and reduced demand. Companies that cannot absorb the added expenses from tariffs may have to make difficult decisions, such as downsizing their workforce or halting expansion plans. Some manufacturers may delay hiring or even close down plants in response to decreased profitability. This can lead to significant job losses within the auto manufacturing and related supply chain sectors, affecting American workers. 7. Incentives for domestic manufacturing. On the positive side, tariffs can incentivize automakers to invest in domestic manufacturing. With increased costs associated with importing parts, automakers might look to source more materials and components from domestic suppliers. This shift could create opportunities for U.S.-based suppliers and manufacturers to gain market share, fostering growth in the domestic production sector. In some cases, manufacturers may choose to open new plants or expand existing ones to take advantage of the tariff environment. 8. Increased innovation and adaptation. Tariffs can also push automakers to innovate in order to mitigate the effects of rising costs. For example, companies may look for new, cost-effective ways to produce parts, including finding alternative suppliers or adopting advanced manufacturing techniques. Additionally, automakers may focus on increasing the efficiency and sustainability of their vehicles to offset higher production costs. These innovations could lead to the development of new, competitive products that help manufacturers adapt to changing economic conditions. 9. Uncertainty in long-term investments. The introduction of tariffs introduces a level of uncertainty into the long-term planning of auto manufacturers. Automakers often rely on multi-year projections for investments in research, development, and expansion. The unpredictability of tariff changes could make it more difficult for manufacturers to assess the feasibility of large-scale investments. With uncertain trade policies, companies may be hesitant to commit to new ventures or product lines, leading to a slowdown in the industry's growth and innovation over time. 10. Influence on stock market performance. The stock market performance of automotive companies is directly influenced by changes in trade policy. As tariffs increase costs and decrease profitability, investors may become more cautious about investing in auto stocks. Companies that are heavily reliant on imported parts or international markets could see their stock prices decline, especially if they fail to adjust to the new tariff environment. On the other hand, companies that can adapt to the changes, such as by moving production to more tariff-friendly regions or increasing domestic sourcing, may see improved stock market performance. The imposition of tariffs has profound and wide-ranging effects on the U.S. auto industry. While tariffs may provide some short-term benefits in the form of increased domestic manufacturing, the long-term impacts are often less favorable. From higher vehicle prices and disrupted supply chains to job losses and shifts in production locations, the consequences of tariffs can reshape the automotive landscape. For the U.S. auto industry to thrive in the face of these challenges, it will need to find ways to mitigate the negative effects of tariffs through innovation, strategic investments, and adjustments to global supply chains. The success of these efforts will determine how well the industry navigates the evolving landscape of international trade.